Can everyone please make their way in here if you're not already in here? Don't worry, I'm not going to be doing anything like Michael and Isaac did. Mine's a lot simpler, a lot easier than everyone else's. I'm just here to introduce Leaving the Jar. So today we have with us Tasoni Manal Musa, who is the co-founder of Leaving the Jar. And then we also have Maurice Gabriel, who's also a board member with Leaving the Jar. I'm going to be the first person to say that they're two very great people, and they actually, last semester, we did an event Leaving the Jar at Mason where they came and they actually spoke. And I don't want to spoil what they have for you guys, but I will say it was one of our best sessions that we've had. And I'm going to speak on their behalf and say that if any of you guys would like them at your schools, they're happy to plan with you guys and come, give a sharing, give a talk, give a lesson. And it is very, very vital for us kind of to learn this information and to know it. And I could say a lot of us benefited, and we had a lot of non-Copts, a lot of Muslims, a lot of Christians that showed up and that actually learned a lot and took initiative. So I won't take too long. I'm going to pass the floor over to them. Can we greet them with a warm round of applause, please?
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for what you do, honestly. When I grew up here, I went to actually Mason. We were only three, from St. Mark's, or at least there was no other churches, by the way. So that tells you how old I am. But anyways, so it's really nice to see what you guys are doing in your campuses. God bless you. God bless the fathers, for encouraging you. And I know the fathers go around to different schools. So you're doing amazing work. And it's nice to see that you're thinking outside yourself to care for others on campus. So good work. Thank you for having us. We're not going to take too much time to introduce because you already did that, but we'll let you know more about us as we go through that. So we'll start with the problem. What is the problem? What's happening? So trafficking is actually a major, major problem that affects every community, every country, every location. It doesn't have boundaries. It does not discriminate. It does not discriminate at all between peoples, rich, poor, educated, gender. Of course, the girls are more susceptible, but honestly, it does not discriminate. It could be your neighbor, it could be the person next to you, or the person you thought was doing okay. And that's the reason why, because the problem is so big in every single country and community. That's the reason why we need all of us to work together as one if we are going to face this.
And when we say the word trafficking, we're not talking about somebody kidnapping you into a black van and driving away. And we're not talking about just the movie Priceless, where a girl crossed from Mexico and she ended up trafficked. We're talking about, like Tasoni's saying, it's a huge problem, and it happens in the most, the sneakiest of ways. It happens through boyfriending, an online conversation. It happens through peer pressure that you see with friends. So this actually is a problem that is very, very common. It has a big word, but it is a very sneaky thing, and that's why it's actually an issue. So it's not just kidnapping. And if we were to do an actual session, we would tell you more of what it is. And unfortunately, Virginia, out of 50 states, it's one of the top 15 states that has the most reported cases. And reported cases are actually nothing. A lot of cases go unreported. So to have one of the most reported cases is something. So Virginia it's pretty high. If you guys look at the whole map of the United States, the whole East Coast is an issue, and the West Coast is an issue. I think we need to live in the Midwest right there. But Virginia, a lot is in Northern Virginia. We have a lot of tourism here between DC, all the fun cities. We have all the highways, 66, 95, all of those are prime locations for trafficking. And again, it's all around us. It's very common on college campuses. And we would share more with you.
Now you might think, we're educated, we're in a safe place, Northern Virginia is the best, or just Virginia in general. But actually, most states that have money are basically a big hub for that, because people think that with your money, you can buy people, you can buy drugs, you can buy services, you can enslave anybody, you can buy sex. So there is no limit of what you can do when you are able and you have. So the scary part is this starts at around the age of 14. That's when kind of like trafficking can enter. However, you as young adults are very, very prime targets. So maybe at some point in your life you have met a trafficker, maybe you have met a victim, but you did not know what it is. What's the reasons? Why? Who is at risk? Why is there is risk? What's the vulnerability? For example, isolation from family support, and I know a lot of you are on campuses. That's why campuses are a big target. Financial needs and hardship, and sometimes that happens again because school fees and the cost of living and stuff like that. Online recruitment, it could be just for social things. Just be careful with the social apps. It could even be for online jobs that look like jobs, but they're not. And again, the gap of awareness. People don't know, they're ignorant, so they easily can fall into this thing and they would not know even the word to put to it. Boyfriending, as Maurice said, just relationships. They might not have the right intention. So youth are at a high risk, and often because of false promises and wrong intentions into simple relationships that they think it was simple.
Many of the stories that we've run across or have come our way have all started with there was a false promise of love or a false promise of somebody cared for me, and this is how it all started. So awareness is key. So why this matters to you on your campus. So like Tasoni just said, a lot of you have probably come into contact with either a trafficker or a victim, and you probably had no idea. And it happens, and the reason I say that it happens is because one of the statistics that we have is 1 in 4 women have been like exposed to trafficking. So 1 in 4 women is nothing. That's literally somebody in this room has been exposed to like something. And then some people are just at risk because of emotionally, socially, situationally. A lot of people, economic hardships are huge. A lot of people are looking for love. Like looking for love is actually a huge thing that makes a lot of people fall victim into this. Socially, a lot of people lack friends or they don't really have a trusted circle, so then that makes them more at risk of this. And you guys, as student leaders, you have a lot of power to be able to change the campus culture, to be able to raise awareness, and to be able to just be a safe space that you can provide on your campus. And you guys, like, we're called to be the light of the earth, and you guys have this power to, you learn, and then you spread the truth, and you are the light.
So again, that was just quick to understand what is the problem and how big it is. And so what do we do? So yes, it is a huge problem, but Christ called us to be light to the world and salt to the earth. There is something to do, and the more people do it together, the better. So what Leaving the Jar does is we fight against this human trafficking by multiple ways. So we give people the life out of this. So if somebody's already trapped in this, we work on rescue and rehabilitation. But there is a very powerful tool, which is education. So that's why our goal is to give knowledge. And that's what we did at George Mason. And we would love to do it also at your campuses, at your communities, whatever you think we can offer. And we try to work on prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation. And we'll explain a little bit more, so this can take different shapes into what can we do on campus.
Okay, so like Tasoni just said, we are here to help, and we want to form like a relationship with you so we can raise awareness as much as possible. Tasoni always says that while we can rescue like 430 women from trafficking, there's like 1 million others that are like falling into this trap, and it's only through education and raising awareness can we save way more people, and that's why intervention is key. So like what makes us different and what makes us what LTJ is about. So we offer different targeted workshops that are interactive and trauma-informed. So the one that we did at Mason, it was a general overview of what trafficking is, and then it ended up with a focus on porn awareness and the impact of porn on trafficking. We've done other workshops. We've talked to parents, we've talked to servants in the church, we've done workshops about seeing the red flags, we've talked about like what to do once you see something happening. We did workshops with like middle schoolers, high schoolers, so everything is targeted according to the audience and their needs, and we have different topics we can do. We talked about porn, we talked about social media safety, that's huge, relationships and how to be safe in a relationship and how to be discerning in different relationships. So targeted workshops, those are huge. We also, all of our programs, we want to collaborate with the community and make sure that it's research-based, it has like a faith aspect, and practical tools that we are able to give you guys so then you can walk away with something. And everything in LTJ is 100% volunteer-led, so we make sure that everything we give you, everything is volunteer-based and all the donations go directly to our programs.
And by the way, the training has no cost.
Yes.
Just say, we have a training, this is our age group, this is what we want to do. We'll give you ideas, you can choose the best. So some of the stuff we do, we can do just a straight out session. We can do activities, we can do movie nights. That's targeted movie night with a follow-up discussion. We can break into groups and work on different cases. We have done that actually in a very interactive way. It's, what do we call it? Like tabletop, trafficking mystery, solve solution. And that was very, very, big deal. I guess you guys like stuff like that. So we're happy to take that even to your campus where we bring just, a mysterious case and we work together to unravel the clues and solve the case. And along the way, you get to learn in an interactive way. And that way you can see and spot the signs to protect yourself and others. We have done book clubs. So whatever works for you will work for us. You tell us what your community needs, what your group does, what does your school, would enjoy more, and we'll do it, and we're targeted. We also go out and research the area. So maybe what Mason is going through might be completely different than what Tech is going through. And we try to spot the, the red flags, the hot zones. So we can leave you at least with resources to say, hey, be careful from these areas. However, if something happened, this is what you should do next.
I'm a little bit biased. The murder mystery was one of my favorite events that we've done. If you guys want to see a clip of what it looked like, it's that first one. So yeah, so we basically had...
This is such conditions.
Yeah, so it was just like Taswani was saying, it's just a tabletop mystery. It was like an escape room on a table. It was really fun. I'm just, yeah, a little plug for that. So yeah, so we can do whatever you guys want. Book club was amazing. Movie night is great. A fun activity is great. We're happy to change according to what you would like.
Another thing that we add when we give you the training, we try to encourage you to be outward. So if there's a way to reach out the rest of the school and the college campus, we do, like what we did at Mason. We did a flower event because it just happens to be around Valentine's Day. So we just bought all the roses. So again, you don't have to worry about cost. We bought all the roses. We had a little message that goes with it. And you guys were able to hand those roses to different people on campus and start a conversation and just guide them to, hey, if you have any more questions, just look at this QR code. If you need any help, here's the hotline. And that, I think, from the feedback we got from you, was very powerful as well, to see that you, as a Christian group, you're caring about the rest of the community.
Yes, so with what we are offering, all we're asking for is just a space on your campus, whether it's a booth, we can do an awareness booth, or it's a room and we can do different activities, different sessions. We're also just asking for like your help to promote this. Like this is not just, it's not just for you guys. It's not just for your Coptic friends at your campus. We want it to be for as many people as possible, any religion, any age. So just asking for your help to like invite people to come. And just willingness to work together where we have really fun ideas. We know that you guys have really fun ideas. And we want to be as much as engaging as possible and make sure that everything is student-led, because that's when it matters. So that's what we'd be asking for. Yes. That's a great question. I'm going to get to that at the end, but you guys are going to have our names. I'm going to give you our website. I'm going to give you our social media, and if you want, you can even get our phone numbers. Yes.
Okay, what's the benefit? So if you haven't seen the benefit yet, we'll go through it quickly. Equipping the students to protect themselves and others. That's just a very, very, very important one. I know that some of you are even servants or about to be servants in the church. And you need to know these things to be able to even guide the kids and be able to prepare them for what's out there. So you really have a lot of benefit and a lot of power in all the communities and the responsibilities that you guys carry. Also adding depth to the students' leadership. Like I said, by the way, my son is going to college. I was actually more comforted after the Mason thing, so now I think, okay, he's in safe hands. Now if he gets in trouble, I don't know anything about this guy. But anyways, I feel much more comfortable that he has such a great community and brothers and sisters looking after him. So it's nice that as a student leadership, you're able to offer more than just look out for yourself or for just your Christian community. And if you are, how to do it. Showing social justice. I know you guys are big on this, so it's nice when we see problems in the world, what can we do about it? And that's our goal after every session, that we have action point, things that you can feel you're encouraged to pray about and encouraged to go and do.
So like we said, this is the call to action right now. So the problem, like we said, you guys probably like still don't really know what trafficking is. You probably still don't really have an idea of what it is, and that's because it feels hidden, and it seems like this huge thing. But there is a power to change it right here, and you guys have the power to change it on your campuses, in your classrooms, in our churches, in our hearts, just everywhere around us. So what we're asking of you as you guys like go through this day, as you guys start planning your semesters, just think of a time that you would like to invite us. We would love to really partner with you. We're not here to just give presentations. We want to form a relationship with you and with your campus, and we want to be here to help in any way. So think of when you would like to invite us. We're open to come whenever and wherever. I love traveling. Always tell to Sonia I'm ready to go explore different places. So ready to come out to wherever you guys are. So yes.
So we'll leave that up to you. I know you have a planning session maybe towards the end of the day, so when you are planning your session, you can feel free to put us on the calendar. As long as there's no conflict in the schedule, we're happy to work on it, and if there is, we'll let you know and give you the next availability. And also while you're thinking, maybe once you contact us, we'll reach out to you to see which activity works best for your community and for your group.
Yes. So
How to reach us.
Yes, so to contact us, it's really simple. We can either give you our phone numbers, like I said, or you can go on our website. You can subscribe on our website. There's also our email on our website. It's just info@leavingthejar.org. Follow us on social media. I know social media is really dangerous, and we talk about it, but we're using it for good. So follow us on social media. We have a lot of updates on there. You guys can message us on there. We also have a phone number on the website. But yes, I would be more than happy to come and give you all of this information in writing too. Yes, any questions?
And I know Dr. Kathy, when she was talking to me about preparing this, she said, okay, challenge us, give us a project for the year or for the semester. So I can leave her to talk about that, but definitely yes. We can partner together on a project that you guys can do on different campuses and work together and be able to help and support other survivors or work on any prevention programs. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, well that means we did a good job, or you guys are ready for the next thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Soni Manev and the ministry partners. OCCM is actually, this is a great opportunity to partner with this. You made it. To partner with the ministry. So I'm so excited that we got the chance to hear about it today. As a psychiatrist on campus, I can't tell you enough about how much of a problem human trafficking is on campus. But I'll also tell you that it doesn't necessarily start there. With the advent of phones, children are being trafficked early on through social media. You guys love that app. It's, what's it called? Be Real? And you know what happens with Be Real? So it goes off different times of the day, specific times of the day, and children are at bus stops taking pictures of exactly where they are, front and back. Guess who knows exactly where they are after that, right? So they're being trafficked not just by strangers, but the very people they know as well, even if you think that, you know, it's a safe person, that you know them, it's not a stranger danger, it's not just stranger danger. So it's sometimes people that you know, and it becomes a problem, and then we see it on our campuses. So this is a great way to spread awareness, and definitely reach out to our fellow students on campus who are impacted by it, and do some good work there. Okay, how are you guys doing so far? You're okay? We're gonna jump right in. I think we have a really good set of events for you today. Give me just 1 second because I don't have my glasses on and I can't see this morning. All right. So between leaving the JAR ministry and Coptic Orphans, I think we got a lot of great community service events that we can do. And talking with you guys over the course of the 2 days and throughout the summer, it seems like community service was hard to do throughout the semester for some of you. So we're building in a lot of good opportunities, and happy to set that up for you. So now we're just going to jump into our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Christine Agabi. Let me just give you a little bit about her, because we are so excited to have her with us today. So Dr. Christine Agabi received her master's and doctorate training in counseling psychology in Ohio. Over 25 years of professional research and clinical interests that include resilience, positive psychology, religion, spirituality, women's issues, and diversity, which is so great to bring that into leadership and Christian leadership today. She has over 420 U.S. international professional psychology and community presentations. She has presented, published, and collaborated in 20 countries, 17 states in the U.S. alone. She has been invited to present in the diasporic Coptic community, the Jewish community, the Eritrean community, along with other communities and professional venues. So how she managed to make the time for us today, I'm not sure, but we are so blessed to have her with us. Let's see. She's also, of course, you guys know that she is contributed to programs like CMANA, which is the Coptic Medical Association of North America. If you guys are, you know, pre-med, pre-dental, pre-pharmacy, pre-nursing, any of those health sciences, please get involved with CMANA. It's a great way to network. And a lot of you also recognize her from CYC, Take Heart, Light for Orphans, and a lot of other different areas she's served in and outside of the United States. She has spoken in 19 national and international professional conventions and 17 podcasts. And there's a lot of amazing podcasts that you can start following her today that I recommend you start doing before she leaves today. Get all of those. All right. So she has over 2 decades of experience with scholarly work and consulting with CARE, in which she brings a lot of that resilience and conflict resolution and team building activities. So that is what we are hoping to benefit from today. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Christine Agabi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Kathy, for that wonderful introduction and for inviting me to come speak to all of you today. I work a lot with individuals your age. I'm also a college professor, so I'm seeing students all the time and working with students clinically and also as a professor. So the goal of today is in 2 talks. The first talk is going to be about conflict resolution, and then the second talk will be more about resilience. And I think this is a good kind of topic to go off of what Father Abraham and some of the other speakers have spoken about, which is community, right? And in case we don't know already, even earlier than the story of Daniel in Genesis 2, I believe 2:18, there is a mention of it is not good for man to be alone. And so we do need community. From the very beginning, obviously God knew that and created Eve for that reason. And unfortunately with that, sometimes there are conflicts that arise. And that doesn't mean that we are not good because we have conflicts or there's a problem, but it is because we are humans. We have different perspectives, different ideas, different views, different upbringings, different universities that you're coming from in colleges, and that's why conflicts arise. So I really want to start with a story. This is a lovely story I came across by someone named Jamie Notter. He is an international speaker himself, and he tells this story about his own personal life, about the last orange that was found in his home. So his 2 daughters come up running to him, both of them in conflict and yelling and screaming and saying, "This is the last orange that we found in the house, and I want it." And each daughter wanted this orange. So, like a good resourceful dad, he took the orange and, like Solomon, chopped it in half and gave each daughter a half. Problem solved, right? No. They were still in conflict. They were still very angry, very upset. It turns out that with each getting half of an orange, they didn't get what they actually need. Daughter number 1 needed a full orange peel for a cake that she was baking, and now she only had half of an orange peel. So she left upset and crying. Second daughter comes in and says, "I've been really hungry. I had to skip lunch today. I was hoping this full orange would tide me over until dinner. And I too am unhappy," and she left crying. Now, if the dad had taken time to not just rush to judgment and think about splitting the orange, which seemed like the good answer, then each daughter would have been happy. We would have had a full orange peel for daughter 1. We would have had a full orange to satisfy hunger for daughter 2. So think about all the times that when we have a question and we think about an answer, we're really rushing to judgment. We're just trying to silence the conflict and the noise and all of this difficulty. So let's rush to a solution. We're not curious. We're not asking questions. And then everybody leaves unhappy. And you think you've given everybody a solution. So the point of today is I want us to talk a little bit about this conflict resolution and how to solve that. Think about all the individuals entrusted to your care when you are trying to solve problems, when you're trying to create community, when you're trying to make connections. You're thinking about a great responsibility, influencing them with a greater spiritual life. You're thinking maybe about their academic or their career success. You're thinking about their great relationships with each other. You're thinking about emotional health, well-being, a meaningful life, and of course, influencing good morals and values. And so the purpose of my talk today, and I only want to talk for about 30, 40 minutes in each talk and then leave room for discussion and maybe a little bit of a workshop towards the end as well, is how to deal with discord in leadership, because it could come up. How to deal with it in a biblical way, how to identify the differences between healthy versus toxic dialogues, how to build teams, what does research say about this, what does the Bible say about this, and indeed how to communicate effectively and how to impact and influence others. You want to have genuineness, accountability, and trust in your leadership, and to be a resilient leader, because every once in a while we will be knocked down as individuals, as a group, and we have to learn how to come back up. So that will be more for the second talk. So think about the last few years of your life. What have they been like for you? I know we all have been through COVID. I'm sure that was a difficult time when you were in high school and approaching college, but what have been the last few years been like for you? Have there been difficulties? Have there been conflicts? Have there been challenges? But where have there also been areas of growth? And oftentimes we look much more at the challenges and the difficulties rather than the growth that we have come about. What strengths have you found in yourself, and how has that helped you to adapt? And so there are skills that are needed during our transitions, during periods of conflict and difficulty. I won't go through each one of these, but you can kind of see them on the screen. But basically, the ultimate component of resilience, of kind of leadership and how to deal with conflict are things like adaptability and flexibility. So we will also talk about that as well. And our character is truly born in times of crisis and challenge and conflict. Anybody can be cooperative when things are going well, when everybody's on board, everything is going smoothly. But what happens when conflict strikes? And a really good example of how to handle struggle and stress comes from this major earthquake that happened in Japan in 2011. And this earthquake happened, I think it was like a 9.0 on the Richter scale. I know we just had another massive earthquake in Russia, and many people were scrambling and things like that. But what was interesting was, as reporters descended on Japan to report on this incident, they found something very fascinating. They didn't find chaos, they didn't find struggle, they didn't find strife, they found cooperation. They found generosity, order, civility, people helping each other. Even in the midst of destruction, people were simultaneously building and constructing. So think about that example in your own communities, in your own how you're building things. Where can you build harmony, even in times of challenge? Where can you build growth? And the reason that conflict scares us, like this dad that just cut the orange in half and thought he would silence all the noise, is because we don't want the fear that comes with conflict. When we are afraid, we either fight, we flee that situation, we freeze, or we become kind of a hyper people-pleasing kind of person just to get this conflict over with. But that doesn't solve the problem, because we really need to dig deep in order to solve the conflict. Real success in solving conflict and building a team does not happen overnight. This dad with the orange just wanted the problem over. He wanted his daughters to stop bickering. But he didn't address the problem at all. He created a bigger problem. And that's what happens when we want to move things in a rush and quickly. A person that can handle a conflict can also endure pain. They can problem solve. They can problem solve around the trials. They can overcome their challenges. They can persevere despite their trials. They can learn to solve problems in a new and novel way, a very unique kind of way. And in doing so, you are growing your resilience muscles. So with trials and conflict come transitions and adjustment and a sense of focus on this problem and on what's really important. It helps us to eliminate our fears when we face them, believe it or not. So even if we don't like conflict and we face it, we actually grow around that struggle. We learn things like empathy and emotional intelligence, which we will also talk about today. And those things are now enhanced. You'll become willing to try again, and you will develop new and creative and effective ways to deal with this problem. So I'm going to cover, there's about 12 different ways to deal with conflict, but I'm going to majorly kind of talk most about the 7 that are on the left in more detail today. And then when you get in groups at the end of this talk, then you'll be able to discuss which areas in your groups you see the most issues. And some of them overlap, right? Some of the 5 and the 7 overlap. But are there communication problems within your group? Are you not seeing eye to eye? We'll talk about each one in a little bit more detail here in a minute. Are there conflicts in your goals and your values? Are there resource limitations that you're all fighting over? Are there personality differences that psychologically we talk about different personalities? I'll talk about that a bit. Also, there could be organizational and structural issues within your organization, and there could be arguments and conflict in that. And then just general stress and pressure, right? College is a wonderful place to grow and expand, but it is also filled with lots of stress and pressure. And I have a lot of college students clinically, and also, like I said, I'm a professor, and see the pressures they go through as a professor. And I went through my own pressures to be here in front of you all today. So I know the stress and pressures of school. And that can also cause some conflicts as well. So what are some communication problems? Communication can be something that is unclear, ambiguous. It can even lead to misinterpretation, because I'm just going to jump to conclusions. Let me just split the orange in half, and then everything will be okay. It was not okay. And so this leads to an assumption and then to a conflict. And so poor communication is often ineffective, it lacks constructive feedback, and does not solve your problem. The elements of good communication have 4 parts, and these are considered parts all of emotional intelligence. We think of emotional intelligence as just knowing what the other person's feeling. But initially, we have to be aware of our own blind spots, our own challenges, our own difficulty, recognizing where our problems are before we can solve others. Then we have to regulate our own emotions. Once we are self-aware of what those are, we have to self-regulate them. Then we can be empathetic towards others, which we will also talk about today, and understand what their emotions and feelings are. And then we can create good bridges and interact with other people. But we first have to be self-aware, regulate ourselves, be empathetic, and then we can create bridges with other people. Again, communication is an art, and I'm not going to speak into these all in great detail, but I do want to speak a little bit more about active listening, which is identifying what this person, what they're actually saying. Listen not just to respond, but listen to understand what they're talking about. Take a break if it gets too heated. Come back with a clearer head. Emphasize the connection first. Before you give your opinion, before you give an idea, it will be received a lot better. You want to apologize and forgive and also plan for the future, and identify things that you can both connect on, and that's what's really important there. If you don't know your own emotions, you can start with something like this. Usually there are about 5 or 6 different basic emotions that you can branch out from and name what you're actually feeling in this moment. Are you frustrated? Are you happy? Are you, excited by this project? Is it frustrating? Are you not being heard? Are you not being understood? Also, when you're communicating, you want to be assertive, not aggressive. All right, there is a difference. Assertive means that you're not aggressive or passive. You're not a doormat, but you're also not, verbally or physically having an altercation with anyone. You are saying your opinion firmly, but also respectfully. And you're using I statements, which we often use in therapy, which are things like, when this happens, I feel this. And in this way, you are not attacking the other person. They're not going to become defensive. You are explaining your emotions and your feelings. Number 2, the second thing that occurs that causes conflict is a conflict in goals and values. And this occurs when there is a difference between beliefs, clashing beliefs, differences in beliefs. This could be cultural, this could be your background, your opinion, could be something ethical or spiritual. You could even have different priorities. Even if you have the same goal, you may think this should start first, the other person thinks something else should start first. You could have different values, and these are enduring beliefs about what you feel is important, and again, somebody else may have a different enduring belief, and this ultimately guides your decision making and guides how your behaviors are. You could also be conflicting on objectives that you have for your team and your group. For example, again, what to prioritize. So to resolve this, you have to understand the different perspectives and the source of the conflict. The source of the conflict with the orange was that one wanted the peel and one wanted the actual orange, right? It wasn't about splitting in half and being equality. Equality didn't fit the solution in this case. You also want to have shared values as a group, and that's why you're in the group, right? That group unites your values, unites who you are. You also need to compromise and negotiate. What is the best for the group itself? Not necessarily just me, but what is good for the entire group is really important. And when there are differences, they need to be addressed respectfully. Sometimes you need some professional help from a mentor, from our fathers, from a mentor in that group to guide and facilitate those discussions. Another source of conflict, number 3 here, is resource limitations. And things like a limited budget or materials or personnel or who's going to do what job. All of these things can create conflict. And sometimes there's a power issue. I think I should be the leader of this group, and I have reasons why. But I may not be the best leader for this group. Again, it is about what is the best for the group, not what is best for me. And so your resources sometimes limit you about what decisions you can make or how you could influence this group. And so tensions and rivalry will often arise here. And sometimes when there's a scarcity of resources, it makes people compete. And again, there is no room for competition in a group if we have the same values and the same perspective and the same goals. And ultimately, the right things, God will bring them to our group to make it good. So the resolution here is investigate why there is a scarcity, okay? So in the example of the orange, why was there a scarcity? They hadn't gone grocery shopping for that week. Is there an issue with money, for example? Is there an issue with resources coming into that group? Figure out where the scarcity is coming from. Why don't we have enough personnel? Is it something stemming from the top going down? We need to foster open communication, have clear priorities, again, negotiate and compromise, get mediation from someone who is neutral, manage the resources that we do have wisely, and collaborate and cooperate for all. Sometimes clashes come from personality differences. And these personality differences are things that are psychological. And there's been lots of studies done on personality for over 50 years now, maybe even more than that, about 70 years, I would say. But the bulk of the research, I would say, is in the last 50 years. And conflict can come from an incompatible personality, which causes difficulty and challenges in how people communicate, how they work, what their work ethic is like, what their temperaments are like. It can create individual biases, distortions in how they're thinking, and negative interactions. I'm sure we've all experienced this, right? So this is the model that psychologists now use significantly in learning about personality. There's a measure that we give oftentimes to people called the NEO-PI, but it's based on this model called OCEAN. And each of these letters is on a continuum, all right? So nobody's completely open or completely closed. Nobody's completely conscientious or irresponsible. We all fall on a continuum of these things, and there's little descriptions under each one. Some people are more on the extroverted side, some are more on the introverted side. Some are more agreeable and can deal with all kinds of people, and some are closed down and only want a smaller group of people to interact with. Neuroticism is a measure of a kind of anxiety, right? Some people are very anxious, and some are less anxious. So all of these occur on a continuum, all right? And depending on where you're higher and somebody else is lower and all of these things, it can create conflicts. But here's the good news. We all have strengths, and we're going to talk more about this in the second talk, but we all have strengths. These strengths have been found universally. All 24 of them have been found universally, but in a different order. So that means each of you is unique, but you all have each of the 24, all 8 billion of us on the planet. And you know, it's kind of a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. Everything is assigned by God. I had this verse, which is the same verse that's on my table. Each one of us received the gifts, minister to it to one another as good stewards of manifold grace of God, which is 1 Peter 4:10. And again, it's on my table that I was sitting at as well. And we also have the fruits of the Spirit, right? So universally, we have these strengths that are given to us by the Holy Spirit, that psychologically we have, that we lean on, that we use, that we work with, that help us to grow and identify and utilize these tools to help others and help us in our ministry. So again, there's a measure that you can take for this one as well that can help you identify your strengths, and I often help people to interpret that, but I don't have any affiliation with the test itself. It's just one that I use with my clients and students. Another cause of conflict, unclear expectations, all right? And unclear expectations, imagine you told, somebody, one of your roommates or your housemates or something like that, we need to clean the house, all right? You didn't tell them what room or what specific part or why this is needed. There's no clear explanation. And then you get upset of them because the house is not clean. We need to have our expectations a little bit clearer. An ambiguous job or ambiguous descriptions or ambiguous roles or ambiguous responsibilities, all that does is lead to confusion and conflict and frustration. Also, having unrealistic explanations. We need to clean this house today. We can't clean an entire house today. Maybe we can clean a little bit at a time. So these are unrealistic expectations that may also not be aligned with our resources that we just talked about, or with our abilities. And so we need SMART goals to help us to achieve good solutions and good outcomes. Your goals need to be very specific. They need to be very measurable. They can be tracked, how much is being done. Budgeting is really good for that. The other important thing is to be actionable. So to actually act in order to achieve your goals have to be realistic. Again, they can't be, a pressure cooker of having to do something in a short time. Plan as best as possible and make things realistic. And then they have to be time-bound. When goals are open-ended, nothing gets done. Or we procrastinate until the last minute, and then people are frustrated, all right? So they have to be time-bound. I need this done by, it's August now, so let's get this done by December, all right? It has to be time-bound. And then one of the last ones is organizational structural issues. You may have issues with an ineffective organization. You may create a bottleneck where everything is kind of bottlenecked at the top and there's a lot of pressure there. Deadlines are important, but also understand what the limitations are to meet those deadlines, because again, people can get frustrated towards the end. Unfortunately, when the leadership is not good, it trickles down to everybody underneath, right? So you have an ineffective leadership, it starts at the head, it'll trickle down to everybody else, and everybody else underneath won't be good either. You want to address the problem that is in your mind, but not the actual problem. The dad with the orange, he addressed the problem in his mind. This is an issue of fairness. It was not an issue of fairness. You need to address the problem of your team. And in this case, if he had listened, both problems would have been solved, both girls would have left happy. And sometimes the team doesn't feel any meaning or purpose in what you are doing, and you need to address that as well. This is a study that was done on internet leaders in 2018, looked at what is an effective versus ineffective leader. An effective leader, again, is clear, relevant, timely, specific, honest. They focus on the employee's needs, they're considerate. And then the opposite, obviously, is in the inconsiderate and ineffective category. So we need to resolve these issues as well by analyzing what is the problems within the structure, clarify the roles of each person, improve our communication, distribute the resources effectively as it should be to whoever needs it, hold accountable if there's toxicity in the leadership, and then use a mediator or a facilitator that is neutral if we can't solve the conflict. And then finally, the last thing that causes stress and conflict is stress and pressure. And again, while colleges are wonderful places to be, they are often places of stress and pressure because there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot of academic pressure. There's a lot of financial pressure. There's a lot to do in a short amount of time. 15-week semester, at least for me, flies by. It goes by super, super quick. It's September, and then it's December, and then there's tons of finals and grading. And so there's a lot of pressure. And we're go, 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 go all the time, at all times. So it's a high-stress, high-stake environment. Time constraints are there. This exacerbates our tensions and makes the conflict more likely. There's insecurity and fear sometimes. And the conflicts that are not addressed, guess what? They pile up. They don't go away, all right? And then all of a sudden, they're always right in front of us. So we need to manage our stress a little bit better by having more self-awareness, again, that active listening, empathy, focusing on clear communication and solutions, and again, supportive others that can help us to deal with stress reduction and things like that. Look at the characteristics of biblical leaders in the Bible, and there are many. Jesus, of course, is at the top of the list, but there are many prophets in the Old Testament, Moses, St. Paul in the New Testament, men and women that were leaders. Deborah, I believe, was a judge. Look at all of their characteristics here. Leaders are often called to serve, not to be served. And even Christ said that about himself. And so they prioritize the needs of others. That doesn't mean that you neglect your own self-care, because you still can't pour from an empty cup. You should be, eating healthy things and exercising and sleeping enough. Self-care is still really important. But they are humble and they are called to serve. So all of you being here, that is a call to service as well. They have a lot of integrity and honesty. They make disciples of other people. They don't just hold the service to themselves. They go and create a ripple. They nurture their own spiritual growth. So you should all have your own fathers of confession, mentors, leaders, guides that can help you along your own spiritual path. It should be someone that is influential and impactful, and they have vision and leadership. And the other things is that they mentor others. Again, they create disciples. They believe in a mission and in a God that is larger than themselves. So God is leading you, and you could be leading others. And so there's something larger than you that is guiding you and bringing you the right resources and bringing you the right people. Build on the talents and strengths that God gave you. The parable of the talents in the Bible is one of my favorites. We're supposed to multiply the talents that we've been given. 1 talent, 5 talents, 10 talents. Multiply them. Make them grow. Bring the best to the table, and then bring the best out of others. So you're always creating and nurturing others. You're bridging the gap between people. And blind yourself to petty issues. That can create a wedge between people as well and create conflicts. We don't need that. There's no division in all of our Christianity and our belief system. Increase courage and listening, and then be resilient, which we will talk about more in the next talk. Most important thing to know is that conflict does exist. And just because we're Christians doesn't mean that there's no conflict. There are many examples of conflict and conflict resolution in the Bible. But what does it take after a conflict? The most important thing is the repair, all right? It doesn't mean there's not going to be any arguments or any discussions or any disagreements. We're not living in some utopia that's all for heaven, right? But here, there will be conflict. But how do we repair after the conflict is what's important. You will have differences of opinions. You will have different ideas. You will have different solutions, okay? But you have to acknowledge first that there was a conflict, okay? Again, burying it does not mean it's going to go away. Validate the emotions of everybody in the room that is trying to resolve this conflict. If you've made any mistakes, apologize, all right? And I know sometimes it's very hard to apologize, but it actually makes you a bigger person to apologize if you've made a mistake. We're all human. We all learn from each other. And then rebuild with trust and action, and be continuous in the maintenance of that action. Maintain that connection and communicate over time. So as we kind of move towards the workshop related to all this, think about the 7 things that I mentioned. The harvest is plentiful, and we have a lot to harvest, right? Laborers are few, and we are called to also go and make disciples of all nations. Throughout these, I've had QR codes that you can contact me at. Before I put up the questions for the kind of workshop and breaking into groups, this is how you can reach me if you have any questions. The QR code on the right is my website. The one on the left is my business WhatsApp. All right. So as you break into groups, think about those 7 things, and I'll put them back up so that you can see them. And where you tend to have the biggest areas of conflict within your group, within your leadership, within those areas. Where there have been greater challenges and conflicts in which one of those 7 areas in general, and specifically during times of transition. Because times of transition are tough, right? Usually we have a clinical meeting for my work every Thursday where we talk about clients and client cases, and we had 2 major supervisors that were leaving. And the amount of transition and conflict, we didn't talk about patients at all yesterday. We talked about the transition and how much conflict this can cause. So, what areas of conflict do you have in general, but especially during transitions? How do you balance support for others with accountability. Sometimes people need to be held accountable in order to make good decisions. How do you conquer any limiting beliefs and entrenched mindsets that may cause you some stress? Are there barriers to your growth? What tools have you used to deal with the conflict, and how do you stand out as a person who resolves conflict in your service? So these are questions to consider. I think we have about half an hour at least to discuss those conflicts, and then maybe take about 20 minutes of those, and then we can come back and discuss in the last 10 minutes of the 30 minutes as a larger group. Does it sound good? Is it you want to do by campuses, by ministries, by different things that you're involved in? Musical chairs. Is it more helpful to leave this or the 7 areas of conflict up? Which one do you need? Which one's better? You're so kind. So let's take about 20